Hi there and welcome to Stamping in the Barnyard. Thank you for visiting my channel. My name is Bethany Barnard. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! And I hope you'll give me a like, and even better if you would subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate that so very much. I am presently working on a series of cards using the Fully Flowering Ephemera pack that's available in our annual catalog. And as we make this card together, I'll talk to you about what the benefits are of using a pack such as this. The pack's actually, this is the second year in the annual catalog, and I was a late bloomer. I did not see all of the benefits of it until it had already been in the catalog for a year, but I'm excited to share with you why that might be something you'd like to purchase. But here's the card we're going to make today. This is part of Fully Flowering, so is this, the ephemera pack, and even this little flower in here. This card, though, is coupled with the Kintsugi Inspiration Suite that's found on pages 58 and 59, and probably some pages after that. And it has, as I said, it's a whole suite, so there are gems that go with it. There's designer series paper, there's a bundle, and this is the bundle here with dies that coordinate, and it has vases. And honestly, once I decided to use Fully Flowering Ephemera pack for part of a series, it makes sense that a stamp set that had vases would go together so well. So that's what I want to try and do with you now. And so you'll see that when you open this card, it becomes sort of a 3D framed picture on the inside. And so I'm excited to share this card with you. So let's get started. You're going to start with, you have two pieces for this vase. Now I'm using the Lost Lagoon, and this is 5.5 by 4.25. All of the measurements are in the description underneath the video. You just click on it and hit more if you want to see all of the measurements. And this is 9 inches by 5.5 inches, and you'll see why we need those measurements. I'm gonna point out how this is scored in the video, but I do have one already scored and cut out, so you don't have to wait for that. But basically it's at 1/2 inch, 4.25, 4 3/4, and then again at 8. And you will see that it gives you a 1/2 inch on either side, and then right in the middle there's another 1/2 inch. So that means that whether you turn it this way or this way, you're going to have the same layout, which is helpful when it comes time to die cut your rectangle out of this. Now I use the Textured Notes dies for rectangles. They all have different designs. I really love this set. It's also been around for a year, but actually it maybe came out in the middle of last year. But you're basically going to center it in either one of these panels, it won't matter which, and you're going to die cut the rectangle. You can use other rectangles, but I just happen to really like these because they do create a design kind of like the Spotlight on Nature circles do. Now, once you have done that, and here's one I made earlier. So you see, this was it, and I just cut out the rectangle. And it doesn't matter, like if you had cut it out on this side, the only thing I would tell you is that when you put this together, you're gonna want all of the open pieces to be on your left, and that will make sense as we go along. But first, we're gonna decorate the front piece. And so we're going to take some of this beautiful designer series paper that comes with the suite, and it's just soft pinks. I really like those, very pretty with that gold coming through. And all we need to do is layer this on the front. As I said, I have all of the measurements and all of the pieces that you'll need in the description box. This on. That way you can set everything up for your card making beforehand, and then just follow along with the video and make your card. Okay, so we have this, and then as I said, here's here's the rectangle. I don't know if I pointed that out, but this would be the rectangle that comes out of that inside. So you're using that on the front of your card. So we'll go ahead and adhere that. Part of what I'm doing with the Fully Flower Ephemera pack that I hope that you really check out some of the other videos. None of the cards are just, well, some of them might be not yet in the series, but down the road there will be some that will be simpler, quick and easy cards. But so far in the series, most of them have some kind of mechanism or fancy fold. As I said, I hope you'll check them out. But one of the things I'm trying hard to do is use all of the different flowers so that it's not the same flowers each time. And you could use up a pack of the ephemera pack just by following my series and getting several, you know, really pretty neat cards made. These are all the pieces that we'll need, obviously. So we're gonna work on decorating this, and I'm realizing I never got out. So I have also in this series been pairing it with the Unbounded Love stamp set. I just think it's full of great greetings and messages for the inside, and it even has like peace that you could use at Christmas. It's got sympathy, it's got birthday. So I think that's just really advantageous to the stamper because it's got so much in it. The first thing I recommend that you do is with this white, this is just a white rectangle, and and again, the measurements are underneath the video, and I'm gonna stamp using even though this is Lost Lagoon, I like to use the Pretty Peacock ink pad, because it's in the same color family. It comes up a little bit darker and a little bit bolder, so I really like that. Now I just had that stamp in my hand. Oh, it's right here. Okay, so in order to have all your placement right, you never want to hide your greeting. So I am gonna put this in first, and you just want to make sure that it's fairly straight and really tucked up into that top corner. Now, I should point out that on the first card that I made you, and these are cards that we made at my recent stamp camp, so I used up a lot of my supplies, one of which is in the designer series paper, you get this whole sheet of vases, which I love, but you also get a stamp that you can stamp the same thing, but these already have the gold in them, and again, they can be a time saver as well. But I used all of my petal pink smaller vases when I had my stamp camp. So what I've decided to do this time, and it should have been in the envelope, and if it's not, I'm gonna have to do some quick action here. Yep, I'm gonna have to do some quick action here, which I know I already cut it out because I cut it out before I started this video, but now that I've already glued some bits on, I'm gonna have to do that. So maybe you can join me. You could stamp it yourself. See, I'm kind of frantically looking for it here because I know it really is around, but that's okay. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take, oh dear, yeah. I'm gonna take this vase here, and I'll show you how I'll cut that down to make that work. Of course, I can't stop looking for the one I know should be here somewhere. Oh dear. All right, okay, stop. I don't want to waste your time. Okay, so just grab my scissors here. I always think it's easier to cut this out roughly first, and then with just that smaller piece in your hand, trimming it a little nicer. So I am literally gonna come in. The die does this too. I'm going in between. There's like a petal pink outline. I don't know if you can see it, that goes past the vase. And I'm cutting right in between that and the outline of the vase, which is a gold outline of the vase. And it's part of what I like about this. I just, you know, I like bling. I like gold, shiny things. My team animal mascot is a raccoon because they like shiny things too. Now, as I said, in this one, it's that bowl vase. And what we're gonna do, because for me to do the placement the way I want to in this, I will need to, these are the 2 pieces from the ephemera pack. And I'm gonna want this to go up there, and I'm gonna want this to go here, but I don't wanna cover up my words, right? So I'm gonna actually cut this down because you won't see it anyway. And I just really wanted to use the petal pink and the gold. So I don't know if this breaks your heart. It doesn't mine, because you can see I can now lower that. Put these on top. We can still see the words, and this back here. See, so that works. So that's how we're going to do the front. And I'm going to put the vase on flat. Let me start with the vase. And then I'm going to lift up the flowers with dimensionals. So I'll just center that at the bottom. I do want these flowers, also part of the ephemera pack, also have that Lost Lagoon color in them. And I'm going to just point them at the right corner. And I don't know if I've mentioned this yet, but there's a sale going on. It's Stampin' Up! Between June 3rd and June 30th, where if you buy a suite, or I think product from the suite, I'm still getting absolute answers on that, then you get the second one half off. So hopefully you will be inspired by this Kintsugi, yeah, it is Kintsugi Inspirations. I just used the word inspired and I thought, oh, maybe it's not inspirations. But it is Kintsugi Inspirations. And if you like this, you can see about maybe getting this in another suite and getting the second one half price. That's a huge savings. Of course, I got mine before such a sale. But, you know, it's the way the cookie crumbles, right? All right, so I like to use a lot of dimensionals because I don't want it to come up flat. I'm going to just take these all off. There we go. And I like the way these leaves kind of make a V almost underneath that Y. Weird things that I sometimes like and appreciate. I think I want this to come up higher though, just a little bit higher. By turning it, I like where the leaves are, but I just kind of want to see if I can turn it a little bit like this. Yeah, I like that better. Okay, and then we're gonna just go ahead and we'll adhere this to the front. See, that's already, I think, a plain sweet card, and you could always stop at that point. If you wanted to make a simpler card, you could just have the base be an 8.5 by 5.5 and just die cut. You don't even have to die cut, just cut a rectangle and cut, you know, out of the Lost Lagoon and cut a rectangle out of the white. And you would have, in my opinion, already a pretty card. Now, I am going to be putting on some of these gems that are part of this suite, but I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to do that at the end, and you'll see why. All right, we'll save this for a little bit later, too. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to stamp these two. And again, I'm going to use the Pretty Peacock. And here's a little tip for you if you're ever stamping on something you've already die cut. And the only reason I'm doing that, normally I would stamp it and then die cut it. But for the benefit of the video, I didn't want to take that time, and I'm not an expert at videos, which you probably figured out already. So I've got the die cut here, and then I'm going to cut it out. But what I did want you to know is that if you put something darker underneath what you're cutting rather than on here, it's a little bit easier to see your placement as you put the stamp on the die cut. So she says this, and then she wants to get her head in the camera to make sure that she's getting that. Of course, I'm doing it a little bit further away than I would if it was just me stamping by myself. So yeah, I'm gonna, fortunately, that one actually would be okay. I don't hate it that much, but since I had a second die cut here, I'm gonna go with it. And I may just stick my head in the camera just so that I get this straight. Huh. Yeah, I didn't get my head in the camera, but it's still gonna work. I'm just gonna trim it up so it looks more evenly centered. But as I said, you at home can do this by putting it, stamping it first and then just die cutting it. There we go. And then just a little bit around the edge here. And then I'm happy with it. I actually was happy enough with the other one as well. But I just love how bold that peacock looks on this is the basic beige color cardstock, by the way. All right, so now before I move everything back, my grid paper over this, I am going to, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and stamp the bowl face. We'll see how, I don't have two of these, so I just can't see because the light of my camera is glaring on it, but look, that worked out okay, didn't it? All right, like that. So we have those stamped up. I can straighten out my grid paper. And hopefully we can finish this card together. So what I like to do, so here, again, this is another part of the designer series paper, and you can see this pretty blue with the gold on it, and you could just cut vases out of that as well. The story about Kintsugi is very interesting if you want to Google that and look that up. It's really kind of a neat story. What I like to do is I like to stamp on what's going to be on the inside of this. You have to be mindful of the frame. You want it centered well in the frame once it pops open. So I'm going to put these on afterward because then I can kind of make sure they're going around whatever I've stamped inside there. So I am going to stamp this first, and I've chosen, again, I said that I already said that I loved this Unbounded Love. I think I've used it on my other two videos as well, using the fully flowering. This is a bundle, has some great frames in it, but I'm going to use the Happy Birthday and the May All Your Wishes Come True for the inside. I love that it has a greeting for the outside and the inside, and I even used the Just For You, and I'm putting both of these on the inside. I'll do it this way instead. Okay. Again, using the pretty peacock. I'll come up at the top. And then let's see how that's going to look inside here. You could even stamp through the window if you wanted by just holding it. Let me show you how you would do that. Actually, it makes a lot of sense to do, but you just would go like this. Straighten it out. I'd use the grid paper, make sure this is straight, then make sure this is straight. You kind of get what I'm saying here, right? And then you'd be able to center it. But I took a chance and did it this way. I think it's going to be fine. Adhere it in here. ahead and do that. Now this is unlikely to fall out. So you only need a thin layer of adhesive around the perimeter of that rectangle. Okay, now on this next step, you are going to put adhesive on here. I still believe this is the strongest adhesive. I think it's even stronger than the double-sided tape, but I know that the double-sided tape can be easier, and it certainly would work on this card, but I am a fan of this. It's like the only glue I need in my pocket. So then you're going to want to bring this flap over. Absolutely make sure that you fold this flat, because if you can't fold this flat, you can't put it in an envelope. So there we go. And then I like to fold it in the opposite direction as well, just to get that. And you can see, I don't know if you can see that shiny bit of glue in my inside of there after saying how much I love this glue. But I also love this glue eraser that is somewhere on my desk here. And I can even tidy that up later if I need to. So ignore that glue. It will come up. And I can even do it later. And I don't know where my adhesive thing's probably further on down my table, so I'm going to leave it like that. Okay, so now, see, I can put this on, and I can make it so that like the curve of this is almost like the curve of that, of the words. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? That is my call phrase. I'm going to trim that a little bit more. So the thing is you want to make sure that you're only putting glue on the part that will adhere to the frame itself, because you don't want it to stick to the inside. So since I know that all the way down on the right hand side of the vase and at the bottom is going to be glued, then you have to just make sure the right hand side will be your left when you flip it over. So I'm just going to start here. There we go, and come down. And because it's such a strong glue, it is going to hold there. So I'm gonna, I know I want it about here, but I'm gonna close it so that I can put some pressure on it. But then when it opens, and then just straighten it out a little bit. There we go. Yep, I'm happy with that. Right, straighten this a little bit more, pull this out a little bit more. That's the other reason why I really like that glue, by the way, is because you can move whatever you're adhering for a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to put this one right in front of it. And again, it's going to adhere to the pot behind it and down under here, but it's not, I don't want any glue in that bit. So I only want glue here and along the bottom. There we go. And I will fold it shut again once I do my placement, so that I can really push it down. There we go. And then, as I said, I also like this little blue flower, which is actually, again, this is the Lost Lagoon or maybe even Pool Party, but they're all from the same family, and I'm just gonna put it down in that corner there. Really making use of the flowers in fully flowering. And again, pressing down, making sure that it sticks well. Okay, it's coming together. All right, so now here's how you put the whole thing together. You are gonna push the card over to the right, exposing that same seam that you had put the glue down to close it. And you're only gonna put adhesive on that, and then you're gonna put this top right over it. And mine is still sticking here because I haven't cleaned up that glue that I had here, which once it dries, it'll even come up with your finger. In fact, it will turn kind of dark and yucky with your finger. See how that does that? I do prefer the eraser, but since, as I said, I think it's right down the, but you can roll it up with your finger as well until it disappears. It goes a lot quicker with the eraser. Okay, I'm gonna have a quick look for it. I was stamping here very recently with, is it in here and I just missed it? No. Okay, well, this is what makes my videos real, because I'm too far along in the card not to quit. But you can see it is coming up. You just have to be patient with your fingers to get that up. Just roll it right off the paper. Then it won't stick anymore. You won't see it. Ah, here it is. I knew it had to be around. Okay. You can just get these right off Amazon. You can get like a dozen of them pretty cheap. And see how well that cleans up. Quicker than my finger. There's a little bit here that I should have gotten to. I'm going fast because I know you guys are probably just waiting on the next step here. That's what I get for talking nice about my glue. Okay, that's fine. All right. So now on this edge, we are going to go ahead and adhere the top. I did want to talk to you a little bit about why I've discovered that I really like the fully flowering ephemera pack. And it is because these cards that are a little bit more complicated, although still simple, I think, you don't have to spend all that time coloring and die cutting to put together a card quickly. The other reason for me is because I do have customers and I did have a stamp camp. It's easier if you have a room full of people to not have to wait for them to stamp and die cut. If you have some dies already colored and cut, then you can work on your projects quicker. So it's a time factor as well. So there you go. See, so when you open the card, you get sort of this 3D framed look on the inside. But we are going to, so that you have a place to write a little message, we're going to put in this basic beige piece. And before we do that, I am going to stamp the corners just like we did here. I just think that frames the words really well as well. Okay, so we've got this. All right, turn it over if you do like I do and you get ink on your thumb. Make sure you're not gonna put that on your paper. And then just go again. That's why I like that there are two sides to all our paper. Okay, so that has sort of framed our inside, and now it looks like I have something on here as well. You guys, I could take forever to make these videos if I made them perfectly, but then I would hardly ever get any videos out. So thank you for your patience with me. So then we're going to just adhere that. And again, all these measurements are underneath the description box for all of the pieces. Just put it in there, and then you can sign it and add a little greeting, personal greeting if you'd like. And then the last thing we have to do is to add our gems. Now here's where I did wait until the end to sort of explain to you that I ran out of my small gems between customers and my stamp camp. So in order to finish this card, I have to steal my gems from this card. And I don't really want to do that. I have another pack of these on order, but you can see I just put one of the larger gems. And as I said, these are kind of flatter, and these are called flower accents, and they are a part of this whole suite, the Kintsugi Inspiration Suite. But I would just take one of these and put it here because this is a little bit different vase. I don't know if I can pick these up and move them or not. I'm gonna try to, just to show you where I would put them if I had to what? So if I have to do anything, nobody's holding me hostage to get me to do something, but see how pretty they are. Oh, because it's different vases. I wanted to show you that it still can be done real nicely. And then inside, I really do like adding some on the inside as well. And so you can do that as well when you have your full pack of the flower accents. Now there are other gold. I especially like the gold because of the gold that's in the designer series paper, but you can use some other gold ones too if you don't want to get these flower accents that are part of the suite. Although I do like how much flatter they are for mailing. But there you go. It's a beautiful card, and I appreciate you following along, even with my mistakes along the way. Thank you. Bye.